there is a claim that Trump is making about saving Florida Governor Ron DeSantis' campaign in 2018. He talks about sending in federal agents after that election was conducted. We have CNN's Paula Reed, who is live in Washington. Paula, I know there's a lot going on in between Trump going after DeSantis when it comes to many points, but what about this claim about what happened in 2018 and the role he played as president specifically?
Well, good morning, Caitlin. So as we know, former President Trump, he continues to attack DeSantis in the wake of the GOP's poor midterm performance and suggestions that the Florida governor should be the one to lead the party heading into 2024. Now, in a lengthy social media post last night, Trump claimed that he leveraged federal law enforcement to stop DeSantis from losing his 2018 race for governor. Trump wrote, "When votes were being stolen by the corrupt election process in Broward County and Ron was going down 10,000 votes a day, along with now Senator Rick Scott, I sent in the FBI and the U.S. attorneys, and the ballot theft immediately ended just prior to them running out of the votes necessary to win. I stopped this election from being stolen." Now, this is, of course, just the latest iteration of a claim that Trump has made many times before about elections being stolen, even in the absence of any evidence. But I do want to provide some context for what was happening in that 2018 race. In November 2018, Governor Rick Scott, the Republican nominee for Senate, accused two of the state's largest counties of fraud. Trump joined in, tweeting at the time, "Don't worry, Florida, I am sending much better lawyers to expose the fraud." Now, Scott and then Florida Attorney General Pam Bondi, a very close ally of the former president, called on the Florida Department of Law Enforcement to investigate. They did, and that 18-month investigation found no evidence of widespread fraud. Now, as for Trump's claim that he sent in federal law enforcement agents, well, we have reached out to the current Justice Department and FBI, as well as multiple officials who were at the Trump Justice Department in 2018. But so far, there's nothing we have seen to indicate that former President Trump did attempt to leverage federal law enforcement to help Republicans in 2018. Caitlin.
Paula, thanks for that fact check.
Joining me now is Francis Rooney. He's a former Republican congressman from Florida. It's good to see you, Congressman. Thank you for being here. First off, what do you take as the message from the election so far? Is there one resounding message for you?
Well, yeah, the overriding message to me is that Trump is once again a big loser who caused a lot of trouble for the Republican Party, recruited a bunch of bad candidates, perpetuates this stolen election mantra, and I don't think that's getting anybody anywhere.
Well, and that's what we're hearing more and more from Republicans in just the last couple of days. You've got the Republican Lieutenant Governor of Virginia who's now saying that really this is a very similar message, that the message from voters is it's time to move away from Donald Trump. And that also seems to be the same takeaway as retiring Republican Senator Pat Toomey. As we know, and you know, Democrat John Fetterman just picked up his seat, now turned a Democratic seat in Pennsylvania. Let me play what Pat Toomey said.
I think my party needs to face the fact that if fealty to Donald Trump is the primary criteria for selecting candidates, we're probably not going to do really well.
You just said that as well, and you have been saying that for some time, I will note, Congressman. But what impact do you think this midterm has, then, on the movement away from Trump, if that movement is real?
Well, we saw Ken Griffith come out a couple of days ago, one of the largest Republican donors. I've worked with him before. He said it's time to move on from Trump. I think we're going to see a lot more people take that kind of position. What's going to be really interesting is how many of these sycophantic candidates continue to slavishly praise Trump. I can't imagine why they would, but they continue to do it.
Do you think it diminishes? That's an interesting question. Do you think it diminishes? Do you think they double? What do you see in your crystal ball with that?
Well, I think this election shows, that this MAGA group is a very dedicated group, but it's not a majority. And it takes the moderate Republicans, just like it takes moderate Democrats to win. And that was George Bush's and Ronald Reagan's coalition, the suburbs. And they all left because of Trump's behavior. And we've got to get them back somehow, or we're not going to be successful. What Senator Specter said was absolutely true.
Senator Toomey, what do you make of the attacks by Donald Trump against Ron DeSantis over just even the past 24 hours now?
Well, I think that actually helps Ron. Okay, everybody knows what Trump is. Anybody that's read Bill Barr's book or talked to any of his past chiefs of staff or some of the other people who have heard his rants and ravings and profanities and things in the White House can attest to the fact that his behaviors are always brutish and immature. And I think that Ron is a statesman about it, and the more he stays that way, the better he's going to look.
Is there something of a blueprint maybe for other Republicans? But finally, I do want to ask you about Kevin McCarthy and the challenge and struggle that he's up against right now. I mean, he has members of the pro-Trump House Freedom Caucus who are now playing hardball with their support for him as Speaker. And even beyond that, Congressman, considering how slim the Republican majority in the House might be, that struggle is going to extend right into legislating. I mean, how tough of a road do you think McCarthy and a slim Republican majority has?
I think Kevin will be hard to beat. Now, when you get into legislating, it's going to be hard to keep the corral full of the majority of Republicans because everybody's going to go their own ways on certain issues that are hot buttons to them. But he did a good job in the last two years I was in Congress of working on some of the Freedom Caucus members. He's very careful. And I know we put Jim Jordan, when I was on the steering committee, in charge of the Government Operations Committee, which is something he wanted. And so he's got a few allies in the Freedom Caucus now.
I was just thinking, you miss it? Now that you're seeing what the makeup might look? You missing your time at Congress?
Oh, no, it didn't. You know, the reason I ran, you don't become a new career and become a politician at 67 years old. I ran to get that money to protect the environment in Southwest Florida. And we'd gone so long without getting any appropriations to save the Everglades and to fix our beaches and re-nourish our estuaries. And that was, once I accomplished that, I just figured it's time to move on and be an example of other people.
It's good to have you on. Really appreciate it, Congressman.